Hey friends. Happy Sunday. Let me get everything set up here. How's everybody doing? Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Enneagram Workshops live broadcast. This is broadcast number 8 or 9. And I am Vanessa Fernandez. I've been doing this series 10 days, 10 ways the Enneagram makes your life better. And I am actually going to be opening it up for questions today. So this is my Ask Me Anything. Hi, Elle. How are you, girl? This is my Ask Me Anything live broadcast. So hopefully you guys show up and you guys have questions about the Enneagram, and I'm just going to go ahead and answer them live and in real time. So if there's anything about the Enneagram or about some of the teachings that I've done prior to this that you would like clarification on, feel free to type it in, write it in. I'm doing this training series and it's been so fun. Let me know if you guys have watched some of my previous videos and if you've enjoyed them. I'd love to hear which ones were specifically helpful for you, because it's been so fun getting to kind of teach. Hey, Camila. This is my Ask Me Anything broadcast. So if you guys have any questions about the Enneagram, that's what I'm here to answer. And if you've enjoyed them, I've enjoyed them. I haven't done teaching like this ever. I've been doing lots of Instagram posts and blogs and a few videos here and there, but this has been so fun. Elle, I don't understand your question. Could you gib? Maybe I'm not cool enough to know what gib means. But let me know what that question means, because I'd love to answer any questions you guys have. I've been doing this series because I'm launching a training experience. I've been trying to think of how to best train other people on the Enneagram. And a course seemed to be just like, fine. But then one-on-one coaching, it's kind of hard to scale that. And then building a community, I wasn't sure how to do that. And I figured it all out. And that's what I've got going. So I'm so excited about that. All right, I've got some questions coming in. So I thought I was a 4, but I think I'm now a 3-wing 4. What is the difference? Okay, so super great question. And I do a lot of typing interviews with people, which is so fun for me. But the difference really is your core motivation. 3's core motivation is to succeed and to have their worth come from their successes and their achievements and overachieving and being perceived as a success. A type 4's core desire is to be understood. So if a type 4 isn't successful, but people understand why they're not successful, or people understand who they are and the uniqueness of who they are, it doesn't bother them. Whereas a 3, if they're not successful, it really bothers them. And so that's just like this small difference, but 3s really need to be seen as kind of overachieving and succeeding and doing great work. Whereas 4s really just want to be seen, period, and understood in the deepest parts of themselves. So that's a big differentiation that you can look at. Okay, let me see if I can look back at some of the other questions. Do you know healthy ways that 4-wing 5s can cope with sadness? I'm a 4-wing 5 and I tend to isolate, but I'm not sure that's healthy. So 4-wing 5s, none of us are comfortable with sadness. And most of the time we want to move out of it as quickly as possible. And actually 4s don't mind being in sadness and being in melancholy, but 4s can often feel pressure from others around them to cheer up and look at the bright side. And so if you are feeling external pressure to just cheer up, I would encourage you to enjoy the 4-ness of yourself and your ability to sit in sadness, because sometimes it's good to feel our feelings. On the other hand, if you're feeling your feelings and you're feeling that stirring of like, okay, that's enough, and I need to start moving forward, one thing that's great to do is to access your balancing energy. So 4s in security, they move to type 1s. And when you kind of set up some structures for yourself, kind of incorporate some 1-like activities, maybe set a project to start fixing an area of your house or fixing up, I don't know, get a health and fitness routine down. Start incorporating some discipline like a type 1 would and some structure. And even if you don't maybe feel like doing it, just kind of put your body into motion. That can be a great way for 4s to start pulling themselves out of sadness. It first of all re-engages you with your body. If you haven't watched that video, I did a whole training on how withdrawing types can re-engage with their bodies, which is so important. So it'll help you re-engage with your body because 1s are doing, right? They're in the doing triad. And then it'll also just give you some structure to kind of move forward in your day that is very in a disciplined way, even though it may not feel like instinctual to you as a 4. That's your best chance at kind of being able to stir yourself out of your feelings and out of your sadness. But definitely give yourself space to feel it. Like, don't let other people's pressure, if it's other people that are pressuring you to move out of your sadness real quick, just tell them to like, let you be. Because I think as a society, we don't know how to grieve. We don't know how to feel our sadness. We don't know how to feel melancholy. We think that if you're sad, it's bad and you got to just cheer up. Well, it's not always bad to feel sad. Sometimes we hurt. And 4s are so good at being comfortable with sitting in that. So don't let other people's pressures kind of make you feel like, oh, well, maybe I should just cheer up all of a sudden. But when you're ready, I would say move to type 1 and start accessing some of that discipline and structure. And that will really help you to like move forward in your life. Okay. Next question. Tips for focusing on myself outside of relationships. I think I'm a 2. Camila, I love you so much. So 2s are very, they're very relationally focused. I would say the only way that really 2s can focus on themselves outside of relationships is to physically get away from people. So make sure you have time in your week where you're at a coffee shop by yourself or you're out in nature by yourself or you're taking a walk or you're taking a bath, literally somewhere where other people are not around, and get a journal. I talked about this in the training on re-engaging with your mind because 2s are dependent types. So they're thinking repressed. So a great way to re-engage with yourself is to re-engage with your own thoughts, because oftentimes 2s thoughts are around other people's feelings. And that's why their thinking isn't always productive, because their thoughts are concentrated on the feelings of others. And so just try and get away from people and try and really dig into your own thoughts and connect with yourself and start doing things that you love just for you. And don't allow yourself to feel any guilt about that. So that would be a great way to reconnect with yourself. All right. Oh my gosh, there's so many more comments here. Little lamb forever. Yeah, I don't want that. Yeah. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, let me go some more. Tips for implementing the Enneagram when you are a countertype and what to look for. So let's talk about countertypes for a minute. There are 3 instinctual subtypes within the Enneagram. And what that means is if you're a type 3, you could be a type 3 with a self-preservation instinct as your dominant. You could be a type 3 with a social instinct as your dominant instinct, or you could be a type 3 with a sexual or one-to-one instinct as your dominant type. I can't do a whole training on subtypes right now. That's in my course. That's in my Enneagram for Individuals. But once you figure out which one is yours, every number has one of those instincts as the countertype, meaning your core desire is still the same as any type 3 would be. That's just our example for now. Any type 3 has the same core desire. However, it will manifest or it will present or it will look differently because of your subtype, because of your instinct being the most dominant. And it's just going to look not in the, we always all of us teachers that are friends of mine, we always talk about how unhelpful stereotypes are. So it's not going to look like a stereotypical 3. Honestly, the work is the same. The work to be healthy is the same. The work to release your compulsion for needing to be successful is the same. The only thing that being a countertype makes more complicated is typing yourself, is figuring out what your type is, because it just manifests differently. But because the core desire is the same, no matter what your subtype is, the work is the same. The only work that's a little bit different is if you want to balance your instincts. So let's say that you are self-preservation 3, which is the countertype for 3s. You may want to start balancing that out and bringing up some social instincts, bringing up some sexual or one-to-one instincts, and allowing yourself to have more of a balance between your instincts. But every type, no matter what your instinct is, again, that's the same work. We all have that same work of being aware of, I always think of it as like a shopping cart. You know, you get those shopping carts that have the bum wheel that kind of like pulls you off to the side, and you have to like use all your muscles to keep it straight. When you know your Enneagram type or your instinct or your stance, all of a sudden you realize how much things just veer off naturally. That's just your natural way of going. And then you can start to muscle your way to keep it a little bit more straight and balanced. But the work is the same, even if you're a countertype. The only thing that makes it hard is knowing what your type is, because it doesn't look stereotypically the same. Curious about tritypes right now. So I'm a little bit of a nerd, and I'm definitely a 3. So I don't talk about tritypes because I don't understand them to the level that I am comfortable. Like, I have to really understand something forwards and backwards before I'm willing to talk about it. Call me a perfectionist a little bit in that way. So I don't teach on tritypes. And actually, I would love to have a conversation with you guys. If you have some great resources that can help me in my furthering education, I would love to dig deeper into that. I've done some study on it, but I really want to feel 100% like I kind of get this forwards and backwards and inside and out before I talk about it. So I'm not going to talk about tritypes. But if you guys have some great places where you're learning tritypes, send them my way, because I would love to do that. Let me see. Okay, here's some question that I missed from Elle. Sorry, girl, I missed you. Could you give a brief rundown of the Enneagram in regards to the fruits of the spirit? Question 1. Question 2, what advice would you give a type 6 who's constantly skeptical? Okay, so I can't do the rundown of the types based on the fruits of the spirit. Hold on. Let me get this. Hey, all right. So I can't do a rundown of the types based on their fruits of the spirit, because it's like a 30-minute teaching. And I don't think we have time for that right now. I here on the Enneagram workshop, I don't teach the Enneagram from a primarily Christian perspective. That is the faith that I hold, but I believe that the Enneagram is big enough and wide enough and deep enough to incorporate all types of faith. And so I teach the Enneagram, and then you can pull it into your specific faith, and it will enrich it, and it will blow your mind as you begin to pull it in. I know it has for me in my faith. So I did teach at my church a class on Christianity and the Enneagram, and I may end up offering that as like a mini course or a mini training for those who are interested, but I don't here in my main feed teach on that. But it is super, super interesting how the 9 Enneagram types overlap with the 9 fruits of the spirit. As far as being a type 6 who is constantly skeptical, I think that 6s get a bad rap a lot of times as being worrywarts or constantly skeptical, as if it's a bad thing. Similarly to anger, where maybe type 8s or other types in the anger triad, like in our culture, we have to be very aware that we have some culturally mandated, like what's okay and what's not okay. And I don't know if that's always helpful. I think anger is fine to express. I think sadness is fine to sit in, like I was talking about with the type 4. I think fear and skepticism is healthy. Like we need to be fearful of some things that are dangerous. And I think, so first of all, I would release yourself from judgment of being skeptical, because that's the way you see the world. And that's the way that you move through the world. And that has worked well for you. And some things you should be skeptical of. The problem is when our anger or our sadness or our fear keeps us in bondage, and we can no longer move forward in our life because that has become the ruling factor or the ruling emotion in our lives. Does that make sense? So I think if you're someone in the anger triad who hates being angry, and you are like, I'm never going to be angry again. Well, you need to have anger and you need to express it, and it's okay. But if anger is ruling you, if you don't have control over your anger, if you don't have any, if it's putting you in bondage, then that's where we need to start seeking for health, and we need to start separating from our personality and not letting it put us into bondage. So that's the first thing. If you're a 6 and you're skeptical, you can't not be that. And I don't even think you should feel bad about being that. If you feel like it's placing you in bondage, if you feel like that skepticism is keeping you from moving forward in your life, that's where you need to do a little bit of A, self-reflection, and B, empowerment of yourself. And what I mean by that is there's this amazing chapter in a book called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, where she talks about how she's going on a road trip. She imagines that she's going on a road trip with Curiosity. Curiosity is her little co-pilot. And they're driving in the car, and they look behind them, and in the back seat is fear. And fear is always with them on any creative endeavor that they go on. And they're like, listen, fear, you can be here. We know you're never going to leave us. You keep us from, getting into some pretty bad situations. But fear, you are not allowed to drive. You are not allowed to take out the map and plot our course. You don't get to be in charge. I honor you. I honor your presence. I honor what you are here for. But I also have control because I'm not going to let fear drive my life. So that's what I would encourage you to just take some time and sit with. If you're a type 6 who's always skeptical, it's okay, but don't let it drive the bus. And when it is driving the bus, that's a great place to tap into divine love. If you are a Christian, and I know you asked me about the fruits of the Spirit. And so if that's your faith, that's where you need to really sit, do some meditative practice, sink into divine love, and allow divine love to kind of hold you up so you can let that fear fall away and you can press into faith. It's not an easy thing. I know I'm saying it quick. It's not an easy thing. All right, let me see if I missed any other questions. Okay, type 1, having a hard time releasing feelings because I think I shouldn't even be having them in the first place. Okay, so you pretend like nothing is wrong. So that is a really great question, type 1s, because, always judging whether or not what you're doing or thinking or feeling is, whether it's right or wrong, doesn't give you the space to just feel. It doesn't give you the space to just allow yourself to be in a moment, because it's almost like you're hovering above and wondering whether your response to the moment is the right response, which makes you miss out on the actual moment. So again, similarly to what I was saying with the type 4 who can access the type 1 energy to kind of get them out of sadness, type 1s can really access type 4. Type 1s go to 4 in stress, I believe. Now that I've started whatever, I'm not going to go down that road. But so access that movement that you can have to type 4s, because type 4s can feel their emotions without judgment. Type 4s can really feel all the good and all the bad. And I know this is really difficult for you type 1s, and I'm so sorry, but let me stretch you just a little bit, that there has to be space in your life and space in your mindset for feeling both the good and the bad, and those both being okay, because those are both part of the human experience. And I did this one teaching in a live class that basically explored how each type doesn't want to be human, how each type resists against their humanity and wants to minimize their humanity. And the way that 1s want to minimize their humanity is to believe that bad shouldn't exist and there should only be good. And the problem is, in our human experience, there are both highs and lows, good and bad, ugly and beautiful, clean and dirty. It all exists together. And in a sense, it all balances itself out. Now, obviously, I'm not saying just like go do whatever bad stuff you want to do and never feel bad about it, but acknowledging that you're having maybe an angry response, which is a bad response, or a sad response, which is a bad response, just let it be. Let it be and acknowledge this is me being human. And it's okay for me to be human. And I think that's a really powerful moment when we can just allow ourselves to be human and allow ourselves to experience both the good and the bad without judging, because you're going to spend at least half of your life upset at yourself for a basic human common experience that is kind of essential to just existing in this life. Okay, there's another question on meditation. Oh my gosh, are you guys ready? Because I love talking about meditation. I just hit 1 year of consistently doing meditation, and I would never have thought that I would be like a poster child for meditation, because I mean, you guys know I'm a type 3. I don't stop. I don't sit still. I don't do nothing. That is so contrary to my nature and my instinct that it really feels so hilarious that I love meditation so much. But do you want me to get into the theoretical of meditation or more of the practical of how I do it? While I'm waiting for you to answer, I'll just start with the practical, because I think that's where most people, we kind of know that we should do it. I don't know, maybe we know that we should do it, but how do we actually do it? There's lots of different ways to do meditation, and I don't think there's like one right way. I think whenever I meditate, I have two different types of goals in mind. So I have one goal in mind, which is to reconnect to myself. So I have a certain meditation where I'm reconnecting to myself. And then I have another type of meditation where I am trying to connect to divine love or source love or the love of the universe. Okay. So there are two different, whenever I sit to meditate, I always decide which goal am I going for? Such a 3 thing. I have my goals to my meditation. Which end do I want to accomplish in this meditation? Do I want to reconnect to myself or reconnect to source love and divine love? So if I'm reconnecting to myself, I set a timer. Timers are great because you don't have to worry about how long you've been doing it. So I just set a timer on my Apple Watch. You can start with 2 minutes, honestly. If you've never done meditation, you can start with 2 to 3 minutes. And I sit in a comfortable seat. I like to play high frequency music. Go on YouTube and Google high frequency music. There's all sorts of frequencies. I try to hover around the 500 megahertz or whatever. There's different numbers. Something about that music, first of all, it drowns out all the random noises that you never hear until you're actually quiet. Like when you get really quiet, all of a sudden you hear the clock ticking. You hear a buzzing in the refrigerator that you've never heard before. So having the high frequency music actually helps me to focus more because it kind of drowns out the random noises around the house. So I put on high frequency music. I set my timer. I sit in a comfortable place. I take one cleansing breath and I just ask myself, how are you doing, Vanessa? It's super simple, but it's profound because I don't often ask myself that on a daily basis through my day-to-day. I don't often ask myself how I'm feeling. I often think, what needs to be done? Where are my kids? What is happening? Did I get a text message? Do I need to check my email? My mind is very rarely thinking, how do you feel, Vanessa? What's going on with you? What's in your soul right now? I never think that. So when I take a cleansing breath, I just ask myself that one simple question. And then I let there be silence. I let there be complete silence. And I continue to breathe in a rhythmic fashion. I have a mantra right here, right now, because as my mind starts to drift, I bring it back right here, right now. And I just kind of let whatever is in my soul and my heart just sift up to the top. It takes stillness for that to happen for me. It takes quiet for that to happen for me. And I do have a notebook right next to myself where I can start writing whatever I'm feeling. So a lot of times I ask myself, what are you feeling? And as that comes up, I'm feeling fear. I'm feeling peace. I'm feeling gladness. I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety. As I write down those feelings, then I ask myself, what are you thinking, Vanessa? And then I'll start writing my thoughts. Well, I think I'm feeling fear because of this situation. I think I'm feeling peace because of this situation. And I start engaging my mind. And then I ask myself, what are you doing? And then I start writing down the things that I'm doing. Well, when I feel fear, I start snapping at my kids. I start whatever, So what are you doing? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Are 3 questions I kind of ask myself as I'm checking in with myself. And then I give myself lots of space to just listen. Listening to your intuition, listening to your own heart, listening to your gut. Not that that's going to make all your decisions for you, but once you get it out, you can parent yourself, you can coach yourself, you can walk yourself through whatever's happening only if you know where you're at. Only if you know where your soul is at, what's bothering you, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. So that's one type of meditation that I do. And it's very interactive, but I really do have to focus to bring my thoughts back here, because it takes some self-control, because my thoughts will still be distracting me with oh my gosh, don't forget, you got to do this for the bake sale. And don't forget, and it's nope, right here, right now. How are you doing? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Let's spend some time right here. When I'm connecting to divine love or source love, I have the same frequency music. I sit alone, but I don't have a notebook. And I don't ask myself any questions. I am simply sitting, opening myself up to receive love from God. That's it. And that's called centering prayer to me. It is wordless. It is silent. I do nothing. I just sit and receive divine love. That's it. And that is the hardest type of meditation, but the most powerful, incredible type of meditation I've ever done. I just wrote, maybe I'll post it. Maybe I'll post it today. I just wrote out this whole thing to this cohort that I'm a part of, with this breakthrough that I had the last time I meditated. It was just yesterday. And I just sat there receiving God's love. It was like I was floating. Like when you float on water, if you're trying to float, you can't. If your muscles, if you're I'm going to float so good, you're going to sink. Your muscles are tense. Your body, your breath isn't regular. That never works to try to float. It's when you stop trying. It's when you just surrender to the water that you find the support to hold you up and support you and give you buoyancy. And that's how it is for me when I am doing that. Sorry. Okay, we're back. That's how it is when I'm doing my centering prayer. I'm literally just resting in divine love and not doing anything or figuring anything out or trying to grasp at anything. I am just resting in something bigger than myself. And when I do that on a consistent basis, that's the only way that I'm able to allow my personality to fall away. That's the only way that I'm able to not have to achieve all the things, hustle for my worth, and do everything in the whole world that needs to be done. If I'm not resting in that divine love, I can't let go of this, because this is all I have. I have to achieve, or I have to have peace, or I have to be perfect, or I have to know everything, or I have to be understood. Every type's compulsion, we can't let it go unless we're resting in something greater, unless we're resting in divine love. And so when I do that kind of meditation, it's so hard. It is so hard, but so helpful. So helpful. I have not heard of the holistic psychologist. I will look into that. I don't follow any of her practices. I've never heard of it before, but I guess I'll check it out, because I'm assuming something I'm saying is connecting to what she talks about. It's just so powerful to be a receiver of God's love rather than having to earn it, work for it, do something. I can't even put it into words, but I would highly recommend you try it. If you want to read a book about this, there's an amazing book I read called, oh gosh, I hope I don't mess it up, Mindful Silence. I believe it's Mindful Silence. I will check that for you guys. It's by Felina Hewerts. I don't know exactly how to spell her name, but her husband, Chris Hewerts, wrote The Sacred Enneagram. And then his wife, Felina, wrote this book on contemplative practice that is phenomenal. I've read it once, blew my mind. I'm about to read it again and dig a little deeper. And she talks about many different forms of meditative practice and many different forms of connecting to the divine through different prayer practices. And it really is, in my opinion, paramount if you want to start letting go of that bondage that I was talking about. Right? Like each of our types, it's not wrong for me to want to achieve. It's not wrong for 6s to be skeptical of things. It's not wrong for 8s to want control. When that becomes our bondage, that's when something is wrong and we're not resting in divine love. And meditation is the best way that I know of to rest deeper in divine love, which allows you to let go of your compulsions, which brings you out of bondage. And freedom is the goal, my friends. Freedom is the goal. That's it. That's the goal of going through this whole Enneagram journey. Freedom from our personality so we can use the best of our personality to serve others and we're not trapped by it. That's it. That's why I'm doing everything that I'm doing in this whole situation. That's why I have Enneagram for Individuals training experience. That's why I have this Instagram. That's why I have this, I want to be free and I want to start a conversation with you guys so that together we can become more free in our journey in the Enneagram. All right. I don't see any more questions coming in. And I've been going for about 30 minutes. I don't want to keep you guys here forever, but this has been great. I got to do more Q&As like this because this has been awesome. I do want to mention, I've mentioned this at the end of all my videos because I'm so stinking excited about it, but I do want to mention Enneagram for Individuals training experience is live. You can check it out at the link in my Instagram in the bio. It's so cool. It's the best way that I know to teach you guys the Enneagram. It's a course. Then I train you 4 live coaching sessions, and then you're a part of a community, which brings the theory of the Enneagram to life. It's just I just poured everything I could into it to make it so incredible so that the Enneagram isn't just head knowledge that gathers dust on your bookshelf, but it really, really brings you to freedom. And tomorrow I'm going to share my story. I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable, which as a type 3, I don't like doing, but I'm trying to grow. And I'm going to share my story tomorrow about how the Enneagram has literally freed me from things that I had been working to free myself from for years. And then when I stopped working and I rested in divine love, all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm free. What just happened? And so I want to share that with you because A, I'm super excited about it. And B, that's what I want for you guys. That's the whole goal. So that'll be tomorrow and I'll see you guys then. Thanks for hanging out. You guys are the best. Bye.